My name is Councillor Mark Rudholt and I'm the Deputy Chair of Penrith Town Council. Can I remind you that those present here that the meeting is being recorded but not by the Town Council. Please be advised that the Town Council does not record or live stream meetings but fully supports the principle of openness and transparency and has no objection to filming and reporting of its full council meetings. We are not expecting a fire alarm, so if one does sound, please exit through the doors and muster across the street. So, apologies for absence. Any apologies?
Yeah, received apologies from councillors Bowen and Watson.
Item 2 on the agenda, minutes. Committee minutes. Note that the minutes from the following committees have been circulated and published on the council website since the previous ordinary meeting. Planning Committee on the 2nd of October and the 6th of November 2023. Finance Committee on the 13th of November 2023 and the Communities Committee on the 9th of October 2023. I'd like to propose the approval of the minutes of the meetings. The meeting of council held on Monday the 25th of September 2023 and the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of council held on Wednesday the 18th of October 2023. Are members happy to agree that they be signed as such, authorise the chair, deputy chair to sign as a correct record?
Yeah.
Okay. Item 3 on the agenda, declarations of interest and request for dispensation. Do we have any declarations of interest? We have received no declarations of interest prior to the meeting. Public participation. We received no questions or representations from members of the public. And we've got no Western Furness councillors. Excluded item, public bodies, admissions to meetings, we have none. Right, we move on to agenda item 6, motion on notice communications committee. We are to consider the motion on notice from Councillor Thompson. I would like to invite Councillor Thompson to present the motion and move it. Do we have a second of the motion? Councillor Thompson, do you wish to move your motion?
I do.
Can I open the debate and discussion and invite questions from members?
If I could say a few words. Do what I'm not supposed to do, stop me, I'm sure you will. I'm not going to go over all the details of my motion, which hopefully you should have received and maybe even looked at it. The motion was. Basically, it is to move Penrith Town Council's communications, which I consider poor, higher up the agenda. To make the council's communications better, more professional, more engaging. In all the papers you have before you, you have everything except my responses to the acting town clerk's comments. And those responses were not allowed. But I'm going to trace them now. 2.6 on the acting town council's comments, current methods. The acting town clerk sent a newsletter. My response, I've never seen, despite requesting a copy of any Penrith Town Council newsletter. Press release. My response, I have never seen, despite my requesting. Oh no, you're going to stop me, I know you.
I thought you were going to be presenting your motion.
These are words that you excluded that I want to air.
Didn't exclude any words.
Oh,
from
you
the
did.
motion.
Yeah, you did. Right, okay. There's no public here tonight. You didn't put the meeting tonight on the Facebook page. There's no Western and Furness councillors. My motion it proves itself. Nobody cares. You're not communicating. Nobody is interested because nobody knows. Your Facebook page, 500 or so followers. Jonathan's Facebook page, Penrith Town Independent, 4,300 followers. You should be embarrassed. I propose my motion.
Any questions? Councillor Johnson.
It's not a question, it's a statement of, how can I say fact, that all parish councils struggle to get Facebook followers or, well, social media followers and engage because...
No, they don't.
May I finish, Councillor Johnson, thank you. This is dry stuff, this isn't really exciting stuff. I think Penrith Town, the page that Councillor Thompson's mentioned, brings a lot more wider news to people, which is the job of Penrith Town. It's fluff pieces is the wrong word. I want to say more public interest in terms of upbeat and what's going on and people's success stories. Whereas this is a parish council which has to publish what it does, and it doesn't go looking to publicise general news, and that's not what it's there for. I think what's got to be recognised is that not many people are going to be excited by local government. There is a lot of things that the town council does that is exciting, that is interesting, and it's done with other partners in the town, like helping with Penrith Sparkle and such like. And I don't think it's our job to go like hunting. People knew about the town council's involvement in Sparkle, and they know about our involvement in the droving, and they know about all the various things that we're doing, but don't necessarily want to like a town council Facebook page. It's not necessarily something that people want to be scrolling down on their feeds. Maybe saying leading a horse to water is the wrong phrase, but you know what I mean, in the sense that what we offer isn't necessarily something that people want to consume on a regular basis. We publicise our meetings in all the ways that are legally required and more.
Is there a time limit, or can you just ramble on? Is you allowed to ramble on?
No, it's not as time as you, Councillor Thompson.
Just that he gets allowed and I got cut back.
Because yours wasn't a motion.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Thompson.
I wasn't talking to you, I was talking through the chair, as is the way on a meeting. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Apologies, Chair. The top and bottom of what I was wanting to say is concluded. If you'd waited a couple more seconds, I would have finished, but notwithstanding the interruption, I might ramble on for another 5 minutes. I won't, don't worry. What I'm saying is the Town Council is a very specific organisation. It isn't there to arouse excitement on social media. We publicise what we do. I think we do it quite well. More people could engage, that's up to them.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Snell.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I know we already discuss communications through the communities committee, which unfortunately Councillor Thompson isn't on. But
At the
also,
time the committees were agreed, I did no communications. I came on the communications committee. You did it one first Saturday when I didn't know half of what was happening. That's the
sorry,
answer.
can I, yeah. Also to say we do have a newsletter that has been published and was sent to each individual councillor via email by Officer Lewis. Can't remember his surname. Sorry. Murray. So we already have that, and the Communications Committee has discussed communications at the communities committee has discussed and agreed that we are also going to put in the newspaper quarterly events that have happened, that have been organised or jointly or specifically by Penrith Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
When I first saw this, I kind of thought that really it seemed, well, to be fair, it seemed like a scrutiny committee on ourselves, and I don't disagree with that. And I think although that there are various points that I can't disagree with on both sides, including in the motion, there are also reasons perhaps for those things, including the fact that if you look at national politics, very few people engage. And we have 15,000 people in Penrith and 15 seats on the town council. And there were very few people who were actually, that's 1 in 1,000 people. There were very few people who actually stood and wished to stand. And there were various opportunities. Well, that's, I take on board exactly what you're saying, and I can see the point that you're making, that actually we could try to at least engage a little bit more with the idea of what's going on. I think a communication committee seems rather overreaching, although the importance of what you're saying, what Councillor Thompson's saying is serious. And I think that just because we might say, well, it's not glamorous, other towns don't seem to have this, it isn't happening nationally, one town could do it in a different way, but looking at that idea, where it's about resources, and I do think that there are several attempts to do something like this in specific areas such as the youth panel and the arts strategy, where even when resources were found, it was really very difficult. You know, a town council is not a national political body, and I think with the best will in the world, although I think it's worth engaging with this idea to look at how we might engage better and do it not necessarily on the cheap, but like sort of with the least resources possible to get the best outcome. That doesn't go against what we're here for.
Thanks, Councillor Dunn. Councillor Jason.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think the motion's a great idea, actually, and it sort of echoes from the informal discussion that we had, I think, a month or so ago. And I do think our communications policy, strategy, whatever you want to call it, the way we engage with the community needs a refresh. And even if we give it a couple of months and see what difference it makes. I'm not for a moment a proponent of Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever it's called. But I do think that we can do a much better job, A, advising people what we do, but B, advising people, and I know we've spoken to the officers about this, about what we're not responsible for, because the guys are swamped with telephone calls that then get passed up. And even if we capture that stuff and then say, hey, if you realise Westmoreland Furness Council have had 57,000 phone calls about whatever it is, we can't do anything about it, but maybe Westmoreland Furness can do. So it's that type of thing. And I know the communities group is super duper and does an awful lot of stuff, but I just think this is so important. I think it does need to be moved to something that's a little bit separate, even if it's a trial, and then it goes back to the communities afterwards.
Thank you. Councillor next.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on a couple of inaccuracies in the motion, which Paul unfortunately has repeated one, so I wouldn't want the public to have the same inaccuracy. There were 18,000 residents in Penrith in the 2021 census, and since then there's been big housing developments of Salkeld Road and Carlton. So I suspect we're heading for 20,000 residents. So that's a vast underestimate. I don't know where the figure came from. In terms of a 22% turnout, we all know the reason for that. If you can remember back, it was a rainy day and it didn't run concurrently to the district council elections, which it normally does. So the effect was left us with about the same percentage as what an ordinary parish council would get. And if we were running concurrently with Westmoreland Furness, if you check back the figures, that's what happens. It's misleading to say that we've got the highest ever precept. That's a bizarre way of saying we haven't risen it for 3 years. 3 years running, we haven't put up the precept, we've frozen it. Whatever the councils do, they're always going to have the highest number being the last number. That's common sense. But it's not common sense to say it's the highest ever. It's common sense to say to the general public, and no wonder if we don't have a good public profile, we've got it when we present it in that kind of negative way instead of the positive way. It's also unsurprising that why would people be that interested, an ordinary person in the street in a town council, when the district council, I mean, we won't go into the parliamentary political side, but the district council have responsibility for education, health and social care, transport, highways, refuse collection, street furniture, fostering adoption, planning, licensing, housing services, libraries, archives, parking, leisure centres, culture, voting and election. I mean, that's just a pest control, that's just a few. We've got barely any of the responsibility. If we had much greater responsibility, I could see the sense in it. What are we going to communicate about? My view is that we should, I mean, apart from the fact that we couldn't possibly adopt it for a couple of months, because if you've read the section that Ian provides, the knock-on effect on other policies and bureaucracies are enormous. We'd have to put all that into place. We can't just do it, you have to organise it properly. And then my view is that what we do need to be doing is we need to be working hard and putting our efforts into the planning committee, the finance committee, the communities committee, the task and finish groups like environment. We need to be constructing constructive relationships as we have with the BID, with the chamber, with the arts and culture. I mean, I for one have seen, since I was the first member of the council, there was no arts and culture strategy. Now the town council, both in marketing terms and in things that are happening, I've got an excellent programme that people know about. Also, why I've been a town councillor, you know, we forget things. We've got signs around the towns about Penrith in Bloom, national award winners, and in Cumbria. So there's only so much you can communicate, but there's an awful lot of work that we can do as councillors within the communities and within our committees that would move us a lot more forward than sitting there wondering about what we're going to communicate. And I mean, for me, a communication committee is like asking a dinosaur to drag a boulder uphill, and then Chief Dinosaur at the top said, go back down and bring it up again. Because that's what committees do. Ruling by committee, everybody knows it's not as good as giving an officer responsibility and getting on with it. And I'd like to congratulate Lewis and the Town Council, because there's no doubt about it that anybody who's aware of the communications of the Town Council will have to admit that he's done a fantastic job, and has the rest of them. And there are things in place that were never in place before. And to get so much out of the work of the Town Council into the public domain, I think is a remarkable achievement. So, pity's not here, but well done, Lewis.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Barbara Jason.
I was actually going to say that when I first stood as councillor in my work, all my colleagues at work said, "What does a town council do? What do they actually do?" So I'm afraid I am with Councillor Thompson here. I think we do need to tell the people of Penrith what we actually do.
Thank you. Councillor Holden.
Yeah, just reflecting on what Councillor Mantis said, there seems to be a lot of red tape attached to any committee, and I think that is a problem. That interferes with clear, transparent, positive profiles, as Councillor Thompson's wish for, that the Town Council should be aiming for. And I think we need to cut through all the red tape, and we need to be quite clear. If there is to be a communications committee, is there no, I'm just asking the question, is there no simplified version of a committee? Or could we call it something else, not a committee? Could we call it something different? A communications group or something that wouldn't have all the red tape? Because it just drives you bonkers. Excuse my language. It just drives me mad when I
Just to
think.
answer to that question, Councillor Holden, you would be creating a committee that was making decisions in the public domain, so it would have to function as our other committees do.
It just seems overarching, overbearing, you know, way forward. And I just think we should have something simpler. And I absolutely agree we need a more positive profile for the Town Council. I also agree, you know, what does the Town Council do? This is still a question I'm asked. We're still struggling to say what does the Town Council do. There are not many actually assets or responsibilities. It seems to be a lot of administrative stuff. When I was looking through another agenda item, status key, tasks that are in progress and ongoing on page 35, it's just administrative. And I get excited about that. But that's what people are paying their precept for. We need to show the positive, good things, all right, working in conjunction with these other community groups in Penrith. It's not just saying everybody knows the town council supports them, they don't. They really don't. If it comes with a bid label, it's a bid label. That needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I think I agree with, no matter if anyone's interested, if they find out, if they aren't interested, they aren't bothered. There's a spectrum of people out there, and some just couldn't get it done, just have to put the plank together, and that's it. Whereas other people are saying that, for folk are interested, I'm sure there's a grey area in the middle. You've got to get to that grey area somehow. We've got to remember that, okay, it's 8 years since the town council was built, it was formed, which seems to take years, quite a long time, but it isn't really. First 4 years, we were sort of getting going. Second 4 years, we were not sideways with COVID and whatever. And now we've got this third term when we seem to be starting to do things. Not necessarily we didn't do in the first 2 terms, but I think now we've got a freedom which we've now gained, and I think we're starting to do more, which is now being seen by the public. So hopefully that'll help the profile. Will help the profile of the town council. But I think getting communications out. I say whether it's a separate committee, a separate thing, Louis doing newsletters and other elements as well. But if it's going to be bureaucratic to do it all, then it's grind away and it's probably going to be detrimental to it. So I'm not sure. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you can make this a lot more streamlined. And I agree with my wife on this in terms of what people are asking for, and that they don't understand what the council does. And when we spoke last time in that informal session, I think we mentioned the police report. It said nothing truly about Penrith and the NHS. How do we get some of this stuff through and use Penrith Town Council as a sort of echo chamber to disseminate things in a broader context? It feels at the moment we're not communicating correctly or wisely or in the right way. I don't know why. Yeah.
I think everybody is right here. It's just there seem to be 2 different issues. And what I would get from this motion is really about reputation and about engagement. And those things can always be improved. And it feels like more like a project to try and look at how those things are improved rather than a committee. But I can see the danger of ignoring the need to protect the reputation the best of all, and sincerely, not just artifice, but a sincere sense that people understand and respect what the council is doing and why it's here and why it might remain.
Can I just add a couple of points? Because obviously the acting town clerk's comments are in the report, but these answers to your question, Councillor.
My answers to your comments are not in the report.
I speak. The reason that the role of an officer is to advise members of the wider context. You proposed a motion, so the role of the officers is to inform members to allow them to make a considered decision. What I've alluded to in the report is the policy arrangements. We currently have communications policies, we currently have delegations to the town clerk in terms of corporate communications. We also have delegated authority in terms of reference to the Communities Committee. So there is budget responsibility currently allocated to the Community Committee. The work for the newsletters which you asked for. There's a copy of the last newsletter, and you're welcome to see it. So
Is it
the
an
work,
e-newsletter or a hard copy?
it's an e-newsletter.
It's an e-newsletter.
It's an e-newsletter.
That's not a newsletter, it's an e-newsletter.
It's an e-newsletter.
There's no difference.
No, it's an e-newsletter. I'm not saying it isn't a hard letter copy, I didn't say it wasn't a hand copy. So the work actually within the council's team is that the delegation sit at the town clerk, the community services officer prepares the comms, the newsletter, so it circulates them. The communities committee has it in their current terms of reference, and the budget is aligned to propose a new committee, is what you've been asked to do tonight, would require amendments to the council's established communications policies and procedures. So all this work would have to come after you discuss it. If you approve the motion tonight, you'd have to look at the council's scheme of delegation, because obviously you're proposing a radical shift in how comms are done. How it reads to me is that all communications would have to go to the committee before they could be published. You have seen my officer's views on that in the report in terms of efficiency and expediency. We could be going up to a month. We're putting out no social media, no newsletters, no press releases, and no website updates. So those things do need to be considered as part of your thinking. I will touch on Facebook that you referred to before, is that it was actually launched from scratch in October 2022 when we had a hacking incident. So we started from nil base and we're building it up. We do have the e-platform that just referred to in the e-newsletter. The Communities Committee currently approved a motion to do hard print via the press to pick up on those people that don't have any social media channels or internet-based platforms as well. In respect, the other thing I'd be really looking at you to consider, the motion proposes 12 additional meetings per annum, Communications Committee. In thinking of your decision, if you do approve it, I do believe that you will need to give consideration to how that committee is resourced. All committees require agenda summonses that you have here, given out 3 days notice minimum, the background reports. That will need staff resource allocated to it. I don't know where that staff resource currently is available, because we have our current officers allocated to existing committees. So that's just something to bear in mind in your considerations. Any other points to it? What I proposed at paragraph 219 is, I think everywhere I've worked, communications can always be better. And it's no different here. I think with community service officer in post, we are growing our communications. We're demonstrating how we are improving our spread of communications through social media that we now have sole control of in-house, and the newsletters and the hard copy print. What I've suggested in the report is that as a means to keep this progressing and kick-start it, is that the officers bring a report to the established communities committee to then start a discussion about comms, reviewing the comms, looking at and starting that discussion along elected members already who are already meeting, to then start saying, well, maybe this could be better, or this is working well, and you're not setting up a whole new communication system or a new committee system, and not changing all those policies and procedures and delegations. So those are the things that would need to be considered as part of the thing.
Thank you. I, being a non-Facebook person, understand there is, in my opinion, a need for more non-Facebook type communication, and I would hope that whatever the result of this meeting is, that there are changes or things made to help this work. I can also understand how a committee could be a bit heavy-handed and, as Councillor Holden said, slow and clunky. But I do believe that there is room for improvement in that. Improvement, the wrong way, that's criticism, but an extension of our communication system.
Thank you. Councillor Jason.
I was wondering, and I'm not sure whether this is whether we're allowed to do this. It seems to be quite a complex issue, and I'm wondering whether we should continue this discussion out of text, or do we have to decide today on whether the motion is approved or not?
What about the motion?
Can I speak again? No.
At the end of the debate.
Councillor Knight.
It seems to me, I mean, it seems a solution has been proposed to not a terribly big problem, but we're looking at the solution before we're looking at the problem. And we're taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut. And let me take you back to the last meeting, particularly the people who mentioned this, because it was frequently mentioned by people. I had a proposal, and the main concern was the amount of extra officer time. Compared to this proposal, the officer time that I was proposing was minuscule, yet it was a highly sensitive issue last month. I mean, as Ian's pointed out, the amount of resource and officer time and member time that's going to be diverted away from doing good deeds, which we meant to do, I just don't get it, rather than consider it. I mean, what are we going to communicate that we don't communicate now? I'm sure there's ways of better doing it. Well, I see the newsletter every time it's come out, so I don't see why nobody else does. It's there in the public domain. I see the little signs on everything that we do where we get a badge of honour for being involved or funding certain things. What is it that hasn't been communicated over the last year that could have been communicated? I could have possibly been communicated better, but that's a much smaller issue than what is being discussed here tonight.
Councillor Jackson.
I think Lewis's work is a little over a year old, and these things take time. The snowball gathers pace, and the audience will grow. And I think for the benefit of the public watching and being reported, it's not just administration that this council does. We do great things like Fair Hill playing fields, I think wonderful, and had devolution gone better with Eden District Council, we would be administering a whole slew of wonderful assets in this town. All manner of circumstances have reduced the impact that the town council could have had. Kendall's town council is centuries old, we're 8 or 9 years old. We are going to get there. Our communication is going to get a wider audience. I think worrying about the direction of travel when you have only just left the station is an exercise in navel gazing. In a committee we'd be talking about how we're talking when we should be doing. I want my officers talking to Westmoreland and Furness about how we're going to get Penrith play areas and open spaces and car parks and parks and really making an impact in the town. And that's what the town council was set up to do and what it's going to do. It just hasn't had the opportunity yet. And I genuinely believe that our 90% of our communications is on the right track. It just hasn't got far enough yet, and it will do as the audience progresses. People are going to want to know what a town council is doing when there is more for it to do, and we are going to get that. And I'm excited about what this town council is going to be doing and how it's going to be saying it. And I don't think now is the time to be worried about being not far enough away from the station, if that makes sense. We're going to get there.
Can I just add one point? We are open as well to all of you as members. If you want us to publicise something that's of public interest, to contact us individually. And we've done that previously. And we do get invited by third-party groups to do that as well. But largely, the vast majority of the comms that go out are related to decisions you've already made. So decisions that have been made either in this arena at full council or via the respective committees. So, for example, the last e-newsletters talking about the grants that you already approved. So, once those resolutions are in place and at the right time, sometimes we publish them that week, but sometimes we wait until we can get a press release or a photo and link it to a story. So, for example, all the grants will generally be advertised or published when we get an opportunity to do a check handover and things like that. So, but going back to my first point is that we are open to emails outside of the committee functions to, if you have comms that we should be following up.
Councillor Jason?
Oh, thank you. So, at the moment, how is the process working? So I have yet to see anything, you know, come my way on this is what we're going to publicise this month in our e-letter, or...
Well, currently that's delegated down, so you've got your delegation to the town clerk, and that's currently then passed on to the community services officer. So as part of his remit on his work, he is pulling together those the newsletters like this, but as I say, a lot of it's pulled from decisions already made.
So nobody's ever come to me, for example, the cemetery issue, we'll just take that one down, yeah? Where we managed to get the decision completely overturned.
Well, I think that's a good example, is that it's not a town council function.
But it was a town council initiated action. Well, it was because because I was core and central to it. Yeah?
Town councillor rather than
Wait,
town
Councillor
council.
Thompson?
Wait,
Councillor Thompson?
As a town councillor, yeah, I initiated an action there, yeah, with the support of people like Jonathan and a whole pile of other people, Penrith, Friends of Cemetery, etc., etc. That to me is a newsworthy item that people in Penrith would like to read about. And it's a feather in our cap. It's, hey guys, yeah, we managed to get the district council, or we helped manage to get the district council, however we want to phrase it, to turn a decision around and undo something that they had done. Now I think it's a piece of newsworthy stuff that people would engage with and think, okay, well, you know, these guys, they're out there fighting our cause. Yeah, and whatever else happens down the line, you know, it could be a tree or anything that we do. But I've never been approached to say, hey, how do we get this piece of news out there?
The things you said, what we've now got to do is let the comms team know. So if we're doing stuff as town councillors,
Yeah.
that is not a town council function, should we say?
So but that whole process for me is not visible at the moment. So who do I go to?
So it's
Lewis and myself, so we can circulate this. Well, let's get to the point of having a vote in
Yeah,
it's time.
because I think that's part and parcel of some of the issues here. If people are working along the lines of trying to deliver something, and we feel quite strongly about it, then somehow that should get out into the, you know, if it's a success story, out into the public domain so people can see what we're doing. We're not just sort of knocking around a bit of
Scott. Last one, Scott.
I get that, and I think it's excellent, and definitely town councillors' work needs to be publicised more. But that was the work of a town councillor rather than the town council, and it seems like a silly distinction. But there's the corporate body who we all vote on decisions and requires that, and then there's individual casework, and the publicising of that is more often than not left to individual councillors to do. It would be great if we could have section of the newsletter about casework. Such and such councillor has been doing this.
Yeah,
Then it isn't the town council doing it, but it is town councillors. Yeah, but you see a lot more relevance to your councillor, but it isn't the corporate body.
There is a problem with that, though.
Can
I just say what the problem is? Because I do many things that I don't bring to the town council. I'm involved in many things because people who are on the town council are the kind of people that get involved in things in the community. However, not everything I do has or would be approved of by the town council. So I can't present it as a town council initiative just because I'm a town councillor, and I don't. If I wanted to be presented as a town councillor, I come here, as I believe Councillor Snell did last year, to ask to be on the Health Authority, nominated on there because that was where she had been working. That's the way to do it. But we can't just assume that this town council approves of individual actions and therefore communicate that. We would have chaos. We wouldn't know where we were as a town council.
If I may clarify to that point, I wouldn't want it to be this town councillor has done this, isn't it great? It's this town council has done this, it's an ongoing process. Do you want to get involved? This town councillor is doing this in your ward. We think you should know about it. Do be aware.
Councillor Thompson?
Well, I mean, I will say one of the things that was taken off this acting town clerk's comments was further on 218, where he actually said he didn't agree with this motion for the setting up of this committee, and that had to be taken off, because I queried why the acting town clerk was making decisions. Committees approve, I find this an issue, a committee approves something, but it's put out the whole town council approves. That needs to be sorted. Come the Westman Herald, Penrith Town Council has. Come the Westman Herald, Penrith Town Council has. Penrith Town Council, Penrith Town Council have, plural. Have, plural. That's a tiny example of the grammatical errors in this council's communication. And I could go on and on. Penrith Town Council is singular, it's not plural. There are a whole load of issues. Things change. This council has to change. It has to start talking to people. There's nobody here tonight. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's interested. And you're happier that that is the situation, rather than people coming, knocking on your doors and asking questions. What are you doing? Why is this happening? Why is that not being stopped? Why is that not being seen to? I mean, you have to move on. You have to move on. You've got to take the residents with you. And according to Council Mac, there's even more residents than ever before. So there's even more who are not voting and are disconnected. So really, you've no option but to go forward with this. This council needs to communicate itself properly and professionally. That's me. Thank you. And I apologise for getting there earlier. But I mean, I feel very strongly about this. And all I've had are objections all the way. Obstacles to try and stop me pushing this proposal, this motion forward. Thank you.
I'd like to proceed to a vote on the motion at hand.
I think that's a hold on.
The person's responsible.
Councillor Thompson, some Councillor Thompson.
For the motion.
Okay. Those for the motion?
Sorry?
We're now voting
Yeah,
for the motion.
for the motion. Yep.
Those against?
Those against? Abstentions?
Motion falls.
So what were the voting pleas for?
562. 546 against, 2 abstentions.
Right, move on to item agenda 7, motion on notice,
That's
rural fuel duty relief. As Councillor Lawson isn't here tonight, it's the motion on notice from myself, Councillor Woodward. I'd like to pass over to Ian to present the motion.
Yeah, in the absence of Councillor Lawson, we received a letter from the Clifton Community Council. They had approved a motion to call on government to extend the rural fuel duty relief to cover Clifton and neighbouring communities. And in neighbouring communities, they would include Penrith and the surrounding areas. So Clifton Community Council is actually calling on Penrith Town Council to support or otherwise its motion, which was to call on government to extend rural fuel duty relief. And if in favour, I would propose that we write to Clifton Community Council confirming our support, and also follow suit that Clifton Community Council did to write to the Chancellor of Exchequer to lobby him to extend rural fuel duty relief.
Okay, so that's the motion. I'm moving it. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ness? open for debate and discussion. Councillor Knights.
I mean, it makes complete sense. But I think there's an omission, or as I read it, was an omission. And the omission is, as I understand it, several people who I've talked to, one of the biggest problems that they've got with the current cost of living crisis is that many of the rural areas have houses that are heated by oil. And it's not clear whether this motion includes oil for domestic use for heating. And I think it should, especially in Cumbria. We have so many, I think we have the oldest housing stock in the whole of the country for a county. And also, because we're so rural and isolated, we've probably got so many oil users. So it's not just cars and transport, it's oil as well.
I have printed off the .gov.uk information today, and it is support to motorists by compensating fuel retailers in rural areas only.
Well, I'm proposing we add domestic oil heating as an amendment.
And propane.
Yeah.
No,
Yes, so
for me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So we propose an amended motion, Councillor Knights. We add
Oil,
domestic oil.
domestic oil. Well, I'm less knowledgeable about propane, but if propane is also an issue that matches the oil issue, then propane as well.
We need a second of the amendment.
Councillor Bergen.
As a user.
That becomes a substantive motion.
Any
Questions?
other questions from members? Councillor Shepherd.
I have one theoretical issue here. Why are we looking at, I know it's us, but surely what the government should be doing is extend rural fuel duty relief to all rural areas. And we're one of many rural areas.
Although it raises Clifton Community Council obviously resolved the motion to lobby government, and I think strength in lobbying is getting partner support.
Okay.
And I think as you'll see from the letter that they page 31 of the agenda pack, it highlights the postcodes where the scheme is currently live in the UK, and it does exclude any CA postcodes.
Chair, on the other hand, it covers very few on mainland postcodes at all,
I think the
All-
closest to us is LA17.
and a little bit of there. But those are the only ones that are mainland. All the others are the remote islands, which is what it was originally brought in for. But I totally support extending it to other rural areas. People are off from the area. And they suffer terribly because there's old houses and no mains anything. So, sorry.
Councillor Snell.
Can I ask what areas we are talking about? Are we talking, I mean, it says around Clifton and across the Eden area.
If we support Clifton's motion, it's on page 32, first paragraph, see 10, 11, 7, 9, 12, 16
Right.
and 17.
Yeah, right, fine, thank you, that's answered my question.
Does anyone know where they are?
It's sort of related. I was looking at talking to chap the other day, plumbing chap. There's a grant apparently, I didn't know about this, for F and below rated houses. Currently rated houses are environmentally F and below, so very cold.
Yeah.
Up to 100,000 pounds for new heating and new insulation. Don't know about that. But if these houses all over the place, which probably you relate to, if it's promoted better, well, the houses would be better insulated and whatever. It isn't where it can be into this. I probably can't be into this motion, or could have gone into the motion, but just that this money is sitting there for very badly insulated houses.
I think it's different. I think what Clifton's asking us to do is support them in the motion they've approved, which currently is focusing on real fuel duty. That may be something separate, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth, I've not mentioned this for interest, but also whether we can do anything about it as well.
It's different. I think that's probably a different matter.
Any other questions from anyone? We also
For
found
clarity,
substantive.
yeah, the substantive motion now is we support the Clifton Community Council's request for the Town Council support the government to call for government to extend rural fuel duty relief to put Penrith and neighbouring communities. But after fuel duty relief, we're now adding in domestic oil propane.
Are you happy with that?
Can I just ask you a question? I made the amendment. It would strike me that fuel, I would have expected oil to be already included on these Scottish islands because they can't drive very far. And they're very insular communities, so fuel poverty in terms of petrol would be secondary to fuel poverty in terms of oil anyway.
Gov.uk lists the Scottish postcodes, but obviously I don't know where they all are, but yeah, there's a number listed there, so I assume some rationale as to why, and I think it is where it's shown that pump prices are higher given the remoteness, the low number of people, etc.
So we happy with that? So we're going to vote for the amended motion.
Do you have a second on amended motion?
Yes. Councillor Byrne.
Okay.
Councillor Byrne.
Thank you.
All those in favour? Agenda item 8, Penrith Lottery. Can I propose that we receive the Penrith Lottery report? Do I have a second for this? Councillor Holden, thank you. Can I ask councillors to note that the Penrith Lottery Committee has informed the council in writing that as part of its ongoing review into its operations, it has agreed not to proceed with the option for the Penrith Lottery to be managed under the governance of the Town Council. Councillor Knights, would you like to add any further updates as the author of the report?
Yes, I would, thanks. I was contacted by the press after the debate last time, and it obviously got a whole load of facts wrong and misinterpreted what was in plain English. This motion was to explore, at the request and instigation of the Penrith Lottery Committee, a review of the involving us of the Penrith Lottery, the way it operated, and to consider whether it would be better operated by the Town Council. It was never a proposal for the Town Council to take over the lottery. That is ridiculous. Any wording of any minute, if anybody checks back, that is absolutely clear. It was a request instigated by the Town Council. I produced a 31-page report. I did a lot of work on it, and I was thrilled to see that after I met with the Penrith Lottery Committee, and I was thrilled to see that they felt re-energised by it, and that they had agreed to, that they saw a way forward of keeping with it and sustaining it now. Richard Uttin, the chair, asked me to convey this, so I'm quoting from what he sent to me today. Even though we have taken the decision not to develop the lottery throughout the Town Council, we would like to express our gratitude to Councillor Knights for his valuable input. The review we undertook with him was a very worthwhile exercise. As a result, the committee has renewed optimism about the sustainability and the future of the success of the lottery and the invaluable contribution it makes to funding groups within our communities. I also want to correct other misinterpretations that were in the press or incorrect information. Apart from it was never the Town Council's bid to take it on. It was said at this meeting, and it was brought to my attention. I unfortunately didn't hear it because I find it difficult in this one when it's on. But of course it's a fully licensed lottery. It's completely licensed. It's wholly compliant legally. It has a GDPR policy. It has every possible policy in place, and it's re-examined once a year when it receives its license every year. So let's put that one to bed. Also propagated by social media about it's not appropriate for a council to run a lottery. Why are we wasting our time? Well, There are around 423 lotteries operating in the UK, licensed by the Gambling Commission and registered with the Lotteries Council. Of those 423, 98 are run by local councils. 98. We are somewhat a rarity for not having a council. And the importance of them is that, of course, in the current budget situation, the money available to voluntary and community groups is shrunk enormously. It's shrunk to councils, so it's shrunk to voluntary groups even more. And the amount of money they can get hold of. So it's absolutely vital that a lottery like the Penrith, which over its time has raised £200,000 for those lottery groups, should continue. So it would have been ludicrous for us not to agree to help them review so that they would have a positive future. Our neighbours, either side of us, both have lotteries approved by the Gambling Commission and run lotteries. They'll have to change them slightly because of the change of council areas, but it's not an issue. So I'd just like to draw those things to the attention of everybody, that it's the only opportunity I get to correct misinformation that's propagated through the social media or anti-social media, as I've now come to regard it.
Thank you, Councillor Knights. Do members have any questions? Councillor Knights?
I'd just like to make a comment on that. There was a prime reason why this council needed a proper communications committee, isn't it? Well, you can on about miscommunication. That's why you need a proper communications committee to put out the correct things.
If people who ran social media sites stuck to the truth and stuck to the facts, that's where the problem lies, not with our communication.
Right, can I proceed to the report recommendations and ask councillors to agree that no further work needs to be undertaken on the Penrith lottery work? You have it.
Yep.
And finally, I'd like to thank Councillor Lennox for all his work and what he did helping Penrith lottery. Missed you. Right, number 9, report from the council chair, but obviously the council chair isn't here. I stepped in for the council chair and I went to an event in Kendal, which was the parade in September. And last week I represented Penrith Town Council at the judges' service at the cathedral in Cardiff. Reports from members. I'd like to go first. Councillor Hall.
Thank you. It seems a long time ago, but I attended the Calc AGM on the 30th of September. The part of the agenda was the transition for Calc to become a limited company by guarantee, and it was agreed. So from the 1st of October, Calc became Calc Limited. The decision was taken because Calc moved from the 3rd tier to a 2nd tier of local government because we disbanded the district and borough councils. So like the town and the parishes are now the 2nd tier, and it was felt that there should be more accountability, and they need to step up to the mark there. And the executive committee have subsequently all become directors of the limited company. There was a slight increase in annual subscription fees, and forgive me if I've got this wrong, Chair and officers, from £37 to £38 per increase. Is that kind of what you know for your membership of Calc? Anyway.
Can't call to answer, I'd have to check.
Yeah, okay. It was strange to us anyway. During the course of the AGM, which was actually very nice and obviously ragged, and I was in a room that overlooked, I couldn't believe it, the petrol station. I had no idea there was a room that overlooked the petrol station. Anyway, very nice, lunch was provided. There were 2 case studies presented, and there were more case studies in their annual review. So I've got a copy here. I don't know if it's on the Calc website, so forgive me for that, for not knowing. But quite interesting reading, some of it, what different councils are getting up to, and might be some good contacts or ways forward if you want to do something different. Moresby Parish Council, they call their project a Wilder Walk Mill. The Parish Council there is responsible for the maintenance insurance of a 100-acre site of community woodland with a designated community, which is a designated community asset. It's reclaimed land on the site of the old Walk Mill colliery. And work there with this project has included bridge and seats being provided, disabled access improved, dog training area provided, and the river's been rewilded. So they worked with West Cumbria Wildlife Trust, and they had a group of volunteers, which is ongoing now because that was a condition for funding from the National Lottery. The bottom line there, it wasn't an easy 4-year project. It took 4 years and it wasn't easy, bringing all these different things together. Burneyside tree planting on an area of parish land, achieved by working with DEFRA. I mentioned this, DEFRA Magic Maps. I had no idea, I didn't know they existed, but they do. And they indicate where tree planting could take place. So it can't take place on peat. That's what I was looking for.
This is Moresby.
This is Burneyside. Burneyside. Moresby is West Cumbria, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Holt. Is there anybody, other members, like to? Councillor Jacks?
The Recovery College.
Have you not finished, Councillor?
No,
Oh, sorry, I thought you finished.
But it was quite a long meeting. There were 2 guest speakers, Nicola Jordan, Strategic Lead for LNRS, and Lois Brown, Senior Advisor for LNRS. LNRS is Local Nature Recovery Strategy, of which Cumbria was a pilot scheme of 5 several years ago. Now Cumbria is split into 2. Westmond and Furness have taken over the leadership of this Local Nature Recovery Strategy. And Nicola Jordan is our contact. So make a note of that. We've worked with her with Carlton Park tree planting, and she knows what's going on. So just remember Nicola Jordan. It's there on the emails. The LNRS is not a statutory body, but can inform planning about areas suitable for nature recovery. And there should be an interactive map to help with this. And we were told at the AGM that all these would come out, they would feed us the presentations and come to us subsequently. I inquired a week or 2 later, we haven't got them. They'll come out with the minutes. The minutes have come out this week on the 13th. No, we still haven't got the presentations, so I've sent a note to Rose to see if we can chase that one up. So just note Nicola Jordan, maybe have a look at DEFRA Magic Maps. And yeah, so help does these sort of things. Is that helpful? Cumbria Association of Local Councils. I know you asked the question on the email, so maybe that answers something. Maybe you'd like to have a look at the annual review. Yeah? Okay, thank you. Sorry to...
Thanks, Councillor Holden. Councillor Dodd.
Firstly, I attended, rather just to inform you about the Recovery College, which is a peer support organisation. It's now in abeyance, it's run out of money. And I've told them about our funding. I'm hoping that it will start again in January, and that the funding for Eden will start up again. Otherwise, I attended the climate conversation that was at the Town Hall about 3 weeks ago, which was Westmond and Furness Council talking about their climate plans and their sort of zero target for 2037. I thought it was very, very interesting, very stimulating. I didn't think it would be. My only disappointment was, and that kind of is why it's worth mentioning here, that the conversation when it came to us discussing roundtables with flip chart paper wasn't fed back very well. And I think that's always a problem with flip charts. You just get a kind of brief summary of what somebody said, and it often doesn't represent what people will say. But I think the block that we would face is stuff like housing, you know, like sort of like as a council we're most impeded by a lot of regulations that I wasn't aware of, and I thought it was given that a few meetings ago I spoke quite negatively about the communication process of the departments at Furness and Westmond. I thought that this event was actually quite positive.
Councillor Sheriff.
I attended the remembrance ceremony on the 11 o'clock on the 11th, for the, not the May Day, not the remembrance parade, but the actual armistice event. So that was.
This is my only opportunity to put things right about what I've been doing and accurate information. After our last meeting, the day after our last meeting, I was contacted by a member of the public who said that after they wanted to draw my attention to a post on social media, and this post said, been viewing some of the other town councillors' Facebook pages and was dismayed at how out of touch they are. Not one has held a residents' meeting or ward surgery. It was in the minutes. There's several hold ward meetings. If only that person who said, been viewing some other town councillors' Facebook pages. So to put the record straight, it's in the minutes there, if people would like to read, and it's in the minutes what several other councillors were doing. And not all other councillors feel as though their routine duties are something that excites people, so don't bother reporting it. But I'd like to draw attention to that. This time round, I've been to a scores meeting, a residents' meeting, since a second one since the last meeting. I've been to a consultation meeting at Beaconside School. I've attended climate and environment, both those groups. I've met with the lottery committee. I've met with an external lottery provider, independent lottery provider, who helped me with advice. I reinforced the detail of the proposals that for those of us who attended the extraordinary meeting, by writing a letter to the Herald. Outside of that, this is a test of the relevance of an earlier discussion, in a personal capacity, but because I'm a councillor and I get involved in community things, I've been helped establishing a group called the Friends of Castle Park, as have other councillors here. In terms of the Beaconside event, I'd like to correct that as well. Another social media posting on the 25th of October says, seen from today's CWH letter, the unelected town councillor, that's me by the way, hadn't even spoken to Beaconside School before his bullying accusation. Another example of councillors spouting off and making voting decisions without, in capitals, any local consultation. That, of course, is patently, obviously, nonsense, untrue, a blatant lie. I was involved in discussions with teachers, governors, Westminster Furnace officers and parents. I went to the Beaconside consultation meeting. I discussed it at the Scores residents meeting before our discussion. I attended the meeting here. I had parents contact me about it. At the meeting here, there was at least one a parent involved in this scenario, and we discussed at the extraordinary meeting. It wasn't a politicised discussion, it was a logical discussion from an educational viewpoint, and it was supported unanimously at the town council meeting. So if we want to have accurate communication, then that's how you get it, by reading the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Anybody else want to say? Councillor Jason?
Yeah, my favourite subject, Omega proteins. I paid another technical visit to them. I can't remember how long ago that was now, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we're going to do one more with Mr. Charlie Shepherd, and again on a technical basis. And we also attended, my wife and I, Barbara and I, attended, what's it called? Community meeting with Omega. So 2 sessions with
Thank you, Councillor Jason. Councillor Jackson?
I remain in discussions with parents and governors at North Lakes about the number 2 bus and ensuring that it can continue. As it stands, Westmoreland and Furnace are looking at redoing the service with an existing government fund, and obviously at the school they want clarity that this can continue onwards. Currently a private hire bus does the homeward bound journey. That's been helped out by this council, which is excellent. I'm very grateful to members and officers for facilitating that. But as I say, parents and the school want as much clarity as possible of what's going to happen going forward, especially in the new year.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Anybody else? Councillor Thompson, sorry.
I was holding back because I wanted to see what other people say, to be quite honest. What sort of reference or list of things they've done in their ward for the residents. So I mean, I may be going over the top here because there's not much being said about that. I've not attended any meetings officially as a town councillor. I have not represented the town council at any meeting of outside bodies that the town council recognises. I was prevented from attending the Omega Proteins October Community Liaison meeting with the threat of legal trespass action by the company. Had I gone, I would have been done for trespass. Now to things I've been doing on behalf of West Ward and its residents. I formally objected to the Omega Proteins application for increased helicopter flights over Castletown. I will present my objection as West Ward elected independent town councillor and community representative at next week's Westman and Furness Eden Area Planning Committee. If Councillor Irons had been here, I would have given him pre-warning. Other ward wish issues raised. Now this is where I'm not certain, but other people must be doing things. These are ones with falls under the remit of the Western Furness Council, and I have to say I am very disappointed they're not here tonight. Gully clearance, one of the few successes. 90% of Castletown's drains were cleared within a week. Other matters raised, still outstanding with Westman and Furness Council. Trees overhanging residents' gardens in Berkeley Court. Castletown Rec Play Area Safety. Castletown Rec Community Notice Board. Norfolk Road, Newton Road 20 mile speed limit. Norfolk Road, Newton Road overweight vehicles. Awful spillages on Haweswater Road and roundabouts. Recognition by the County Council, Western Furness Council, of odour pollution as a statutory odour nuisance. Now, up to date, Western Furness Council have refused to accept that responsibility. I am making some headway in getting them to reconsider, if you like. As a residents representative, I've also had a meeting with the Environment Agency and continued dialogue with the MP about the continuing problem of odour pollution. Through a report by me to Network Rail, within 2 weeks, repair and maintenance work is currently being carried out on the footbridge leading from the Weir of Booths into Gilbilly and Castletown. That work is underway now. Under the Town Council's responsibility, I have raised concerns about aspects of allotments management. There are 2 allotment sites in West Ward. I also toured the Brackenbear allotment, which is the largest, with fellow West Ward Councillor Barbara Jason. However, I am not satisfied with the little progress made and the way the allotments are run and managed. Questions need to be asked both of the Town Council and the Allotment Holders Association. I've advised Castletown-based Weatherridge Football Club on the Council's grant scheme, indicating I would support any application they put forward. And tomorrow evening I will be hosting a third residents' meeting, with the aim of establishing a formal community group in West Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Is there anybody else? No? Thank you. Okay, agenda item 11, resolutions report. Can I ask council to receive and note the written report? Yeah. Everybody happy? Agenda item 12, neighbourhood plan. Can I invite Councillor Jackson as lead member to provide an oral update on the neighbourhood plan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Penrith Neighbourhood Development Plan. Neighbourhood plans offer numerous benefits to local communities, allowing them to have a say in how their community develops. Neighbourhood plans have legal weight in planning law to help direct development once adopted. I'm sure you're all aware Penrith Town Council commenced with a neighbourhood development plan in 2017, forming a group including representation of a cross-section of local organisations. The work commenced with a public consultation asking residents, business owners and visitors for their views. These views were then developed into policies and actions. 3 more public consultations took place before the draft plan was submitted to the then Eden District Council at the start of December 2019 to enable the Regulation 16 consultation to take place. Unfortunately for us, COVID hit, meaning that the consultation was effectively delayed for a year. The examination in public took place virtually in March 2021. Following the examination, the examiner issued his report recommending some minor word changes and the deletion of Policy 1, relating to sustainable development in Penrith. Policy 8, identifying and protecting local green spaces. Policy 9, protecting and enhancing leisure and recreation facilities. Policy 12, traffic management. Penrith Town Council accepted that Policy 1 was no longer applicable as a change in planning regulations meant that the issues proposed in the policy were now covered nationally, and accepted that the measures outlined in Policy 12 could be delivered in other ways. In relation to the green spaces identified by the public as special, the examiner concentrated on Beacon Hill, which he clearly stated did not meet the criteria for designation. He did not go through all the additional sites to state why he thought they did not meet the criteria, i.e. in close proximity to the communities they serve, mostly be special to the local community because of their recreational value, and local in character and often extensive tract of land. There were no reasons given in his response, unlike other examination responses we have seen, indicating the reasons for deleting these policies. Instead, the examiner focused on Beacon Hill, which he clearly stated did not meet policy, requesting that effort be made to produce a specific policy relating to the area. Neither the landowner nor the town council could agree a policy that would be acceptable to residents, so the examiner produced a policy which was again rejected. This delayed the process again by a further 6 months, with the final report by the examiner being completed in March 2022. Penrith Town Council challenged his report in respect of the deletion of policies 8 and 9, setting out the reasons in a document sent to Eden District Council in October 2022. The deletion of Beacon Hill as a local green space was a concern to the Town Council, obviously, because it was obvious during our consultations that it is an area that local people treasure as a place to walk, see wildlife and for their health and well-being. We did, however, recognise that it probably did not meet the criteria of designation, and this was confirmed by the examiner specifically. Meetings were held with officers at EDC, and it was agreed that Penrith Town Council could provide additional evidence following an additional consultation on why the green spaces identified were demonstrably special. Consultation responses were sent to Eden District Council showing the views of over 300 residents who responded. Without the delay of COVID and the request by the examiner to produce a separate policy, which it was felt overstepped his remit, it is anticipated that the neighbourhood development plan would have been produced within 3 to 4 years, which is about average for a town the size of Penrith. On Tuesday, the 14th of November, Councillor Lawson attended a meeting of Westmoreland and Furness's cabinet to speak as they were discussing the next steps. At their meeting, Westmoreland and Furness resolved that a further consultation period of not less than 6 weeks should be undertaken, as the proposed amendments by the examiner would not include the deletion of the policy in the green spaces and leisure spaces, as it was recognised that these areas were very important to Penrith residents. Following this, the neighbourhood development plan will finally be put to public referendum, where a yes vote would secure that. The policies had to be taken account of when planning applications were considered in Penrith. The green and leisure spaces identified by the public were afforded some more protection, and that additional funding could be obtained from a community infrastructure levy should it be adopted area-wide by Westmoreland and Furness for infrastructure or anything concerned with addressing development places in the area. I'd just like to expand on the last one. Community infrastructure levy is a percentage of the sale price of any property. It goes not only to the planning authority but to the parish councils. It would result in considerable funds coming to the town council and therefore to the betterment of Penrith. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Do we have any questions from members? No?
Thanks for perseverance.
Thanks to Ros and
Thanks to everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody for their perseverance. This has been sorry, I won't say what it said.
Go on, Charlotte.
Generating 13 grants. Can I ask councillors to receive and note the written report that we have on grants? Councillor Staff.
I just wanted to check, please, that I'm not clear. Now we have signature awards. The grants that we've awarded, the 3 above, are they one-offs like we used to have? But now we have the signatory grants for people who come back year after year after year.
Yeah.
I wanted to check that, Friends of North Lake School, for example, understand that they won't be able to come back next year.
Yeah, so they're one-off grants, if you want to refer
Yeah.
to that, and then the terms are set out in an SLA, and the payment terms are also set out, so in respect of Friends of North Lake School, the payment provisions in the SLA. Yeah, so it's not a recurring grant.
Thanks.
Any more questions, Councillor Holden?
You know, I just put a big question mark myself about the Friends of North Lake School, about this provision of transport for pupils. I mean, worthy that it is, I'm glad they've got the money, but shouldn't Western Furness Council be submitting that?
I think they're being asked to as well.
Sorry?
I think they are being asked
Yeah.
to as well.
They're being asked to as well.
So our £2,000 will cover all the costs. So there's parent contributions, and the school, I think Councillor Jackson will be able to elaborate, I know he's in touch with them. Based on the school, we're looking at how to make the service sustainable. At the same time, we're looking at other grant means as well, grant avenues. I am led to believe that we're talking to Western Friends Council.
Okay. All right, I'm good. It's not all the onus on us. Right.
No, they're looking at the locality board, but also Westmoreland and Furness as part of their budget. They have, it was in the news a month or so back that Westmoreland and Furness are looking at using a specific government pot that they have to protect and it's not about expanding, it's about protecting services that have been lost or in threat of being lost.
Right.
So the number 2 bus service counts as that, and this particular fund. I don't know if it is going there, but it's that was the if I remember rightly, it was voted on that the bus services in question would get this funding. Obviously, they need the final clarity from the government that this funding comes in. I don't know, it's imperfect, that's for certain. So everyone's got their fingers crossed. And then we'll cross whatever bridge happens to come our way next.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
It's not really a question, but I would really like those that get recurring grants, not to think that they're going to get the grant automatically. And I would quite like to get, I never hear what happens to grant money. I would quite like people who, particularly those getting recurring grants, to come and report to the council what they've done with the money.
The terms of the SLA require them to submit a report back
That's
to
not the
council.
same as coming to the council and telling us what they've done with the money.
The 2 we've given so far are for the Christmas light switch on and the winter trophy. And they're the first 2 grants in the signature fund, and it was agreed that the organisations would receive the same level of grant with the town council for the same projects.
So they just take our monies for granted.
I don't believe they do, to be honest. I think it goes to help provide town events. A lot of these events do require subsidy.
I would quite like to hear what they do with the money, the council taxpayers' money.
Can I just, don't the grant applications tell us what they're going to do with it?
Submit what they're going to do with it, and
Yeah.
what they've actually done with it.
Well, presume that they're honest about what they say they're going to do.
If I may,
Question their honesty.
At the annual town meeting, we had lots of grant applicants come and report on what they've done with the money, and all grant applicants are invited to do that and encouraged to do that. So the annual town meeting is an excellent opportunity. It's not a town council meeting, it's a town meeting where people who've got, they're doing good works can come report.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Agenda item 14, biodiversity statement. Can I propose that we receive the report on the duties of the Natural Environment and Rural Communities Act 2006 as updated by the Environment Act 2021, and to consider the recommendations within the report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Snell, thank you.
So government requires town and parish councils, government produced guidance in May this year requiring that town and parish councils consider what they do to conserve and enhance biodiversity, agree policies and specific objectives, I should say, based on their considerations, and act to deliver their policies and achieve their objectives. So the council does have a biodiversity statement approved in May 2017. By this report, we're proposing that the Climate Strategy Review Group be asked to update the biodiversity statement and to produce a biodiversity policy and action plan and bring it back to council, likely a long time, at the same time as they report on the climate strategy work as well.
Any questions from members? Councillor Stan.
I haven't got a question, but just to say that we actually, on planning, take into account biodiversity at every planning we have, every item that comes. So to reassure people really that we are looking at it already.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. So we need to proceed to a vote. All those in favour? Agenda item 15, Code of Conduct. Can I propose that we consider and approve the Westmead and Furness Council Code of Conduct? Do we have a second for this?
So, very quickly, Town Council adopted its current Code of Conduct on 27th of March this year, which was model the same as in District Council at the time. So Westmead and Furness Council have recently adopted its new Code of Conduct, which is bringing the 3 districts into their Westmead and Furness corporate one. There is some changes you'll see in the report on minor. A lot of it's to do with ordering of information. You'll see the changes are highlighted in Appendix A. There's no substantial change in terms of the Code of Conduct itself. It's ordering, some minor deletions and amendments and additions. And you'll see Appendix B would include what will be the clean version that members will be asked to sign should be adopted. But we are recommending that members adopt the Westmead Furness Council's Code of Conduct policy. Principally, that provides a consistent approach on ethical standards across Westmead Furness.
Members have any questions, discussion, Councillor Max?
Can I just clarify, what if we don't adopt it? Westmead and Furness presumably impose it upon us?
No, you have your currently adopted one, which is then different to Westmead Furness's.
And we can do that.
It will make it very difficult for us.
And you wouldn't want to, because obviously you want consistency between the two from the monitoring officer's point of view. Consistency is really important.
Well,
And from council's point of view, it's really important as well.
I think all the changes that have been made make things much clearer. You know, you've got, it's outlined exactly registrable interests. For me, it actually makes things much clearer. And I agree with all the changes that have been made.
Anything else? Happy to vote on this? All those in favour?
You will be asked therefore to sign new versions, so we'll send that one out.
When it's a clean vote.
I've got copies with me.
I'm surprised.
Thank you. Agenda item 16, A66 Northern Trans-Pennine Project update. Can I ask councillors to receive and note the letter from National Highways on the position regarding the A66 Northern Trans-Pennine project? Everybody okay with that? Yeah. Yes. Agenda 17, standing orders. Can I propose that we consider an amendment to the standing orders? Do I have a second? Councillor Jackson. Thank you.
So, again, just to report, in May this year we agreed an amendment to the standing orders in relation to questions from members of the public. And upon reviewing them recently, it's evident that they contradict each other, in effect, quite misleading in terms of the public that want to submit a question to council. You'll see in the report, page 81, the 2 paragraphs at the bottom have highlighted key points where it says it is preferred, in paragraph 1, it's preferred that a member of the public make a request in writing to the town clerk prior to the meeting. And back in May we agreed that a question should only be asked if notice has been given by delivered in writing. So obviously preferred and then given a specific instruction is contradictory, misleading. So we have reviewed the standing orders and we propose rewording so that it's clear. And that is shown in paragraph 1.3 and the recommendation report. So 3EI, standing order now would read, members of the public may make representations, ask questions and give evidence at a meeting which they are entitled to attend in respect of business on the agenda. And then 3E2 is a member of the public who wishes to make a representation, ask a question, or give evidence, must make a request to do so in writing to the town clerk prior to the meeting in order to facilitate a response from the council. The request may be given by delivery in writing by electronic mail from the town clerk no later than midday one clear working day before the day of the meeting, clarifying the point.
Any questions, comments? Yeah, as I say.
If I remember rightly, on the 15th of May, did we not vote for a substantive motion that did say preferred rather than must for a specific reason?
Yes.
We had an amended motion that we voted on, but obviously reviewing that since, the way they're written to the public, it reads misleading because we're saying, so on one hand we're saying it's preferred, but then in the second paragraph we're saying you have to do it specifically. So
I understand that part, but I think we actually specifically voted on the wording of preferred rather than must because we were worried that must.
You did, and you also, yes, you did, but also agreed the second paragraph that said you must. I'll go back on the minutes.
So can we go back to preferred?
You can. You can. I think from the public's point of view, my reading would be that I think the public respond better to a specific.
Okay.
But it is in your gift should you want to alternative.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate clarity, and it's not pedantry, but preferred doesn't mean anything. It blurs the rule. Must is a clear rule. Preferred, we may as well not have the rule at all if it was just preferred. It means, well, if you don't prefer it, you don't use it. So I prefer certainty in the language of these kind of standing orders.
Yeah, so going back to the original discussion, why we objected to using the word must was because we didn't want to put roadblocks in front of any public person who wanted to attend and ask anything of the council. As simple as that. The more roadblocks you put, such as asking people to put things in writing, the less engagement you're going to have with the community, which of course are clamouring at the door to get in at the moment and ask lots of questions. So for me, it should be a free for all. You know, if somebody wants to ask about dogs or potholes or anything, they should be perfectly entitled to on the day of the council meeting.
I mean, like in the district council, if the question couldn't be answered there and then we get back to that and give them a written answer. Simple.
I think you kind of go, shouldn't preferred there as well. Either should be one or the other. Preferred, I know review, that's really few.
Sorry, Councillor, can you go, if you look at the recommendations, we've highlighted preferred because that's where it currently is. So the recommendations that's removed.
The recommendation is 3E1 or 3E2.
The 1.3 is the new version.
The recommendations on page 81, the proposed new version. The report details at the foot is how it currently is written.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Maybe the solution is to reword the whole thing and say something like members of the public may make representations verbally on the night or submit a written question beforehand, and just leave it like that.
So,
I think that if you're going to do that, they have to understand they may not get the answer
Correct.
at the time.
Yeah.
And that needs to be built into it, because
Correct.
it's totally unfair for everybody for someone to come and ask a complicated question and expect
Correct.
a good answer.
Yes.
But I would prefer to see a system that anyone can turn up, ask a question, and if they don't get, if the question is not easily answerable, we undertake to answer it within
5 working days.
so many days, or whatever people think is relevant. That's definitely my preference.
You can propose. So we just need clarity on your proposal.
Well, just that was pretty much what we said in May.
That's my understanding.
Well, that's understanding, yeah, just
Sorry.
He wants me to. Councillor Jackson.
It depends what the asker of the question wants to do with the answer. If they just want a technical answer, they can wait. But if they want an answer in the meeting for it to be more publicised, then they have to ask it in advance.
Well, they can.
Yes, I'm just,
So,
Overall.
yeah, I mean, there are people who want to come to a council meeting for it to be a very public answer, who may be disappointed by, oh, we'll get back to you in a week. It's just, it's a
but if
process.
the wording's
Let's summarise. So what we're probably talking now is to, if you look at the recommendation, it's retain 3EI as proposed
Sorry, what were you
and not have 3E2.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that summary?
Yes.
So that your standing order would now read, members of the public, sorry, you go back to the old 3EI, members of the public may make representations, ask questions, give evidence at a meeting which they are entitled to attend in respect of the business on the agenda. It is preferred that a member of the public make a requesting right to time back prior to the meeting to facilitate a full response from the council to the questioner. That doesn't exclude from answering on asking on an angle as the sort of preferred. Therefore, you would remove 3E2, where there is a question should only be asked if notice has been given by the prescribed time scale. Because that's what you've now proposed.
I think that's a step in the right direction, but I think what it possibly should say is, in terms of Scott's point, is it's helpful that a member of the public make a request in writing, because there's more certainty that they will be able to get an answer on the night, rather than have a delayed response, so that they can expect a delay, because if they'll still go in expecting a response if we say that. But I think it's helpful for people to realise that if you want a full and frank answer, you may have to wait. So the word helpful instead of preferred, I think, is more helpful.
Sorry. If there was an added proviso at the end of that sentence that it needs, then you may not be able to hear the answer on the evening, but we will respond within so much time, etc. That's very clearly in the rules. If they don't like it and they want to argue about it, that it's in the rules, you know, and they've seen it there while being invited to ask the question.
Yeah.
So you could add on that members of the public who ask a question on the night at the meeting will probably get a written response, whereas questions submitted prior to the meeting will get a response at the meeting.
Or may. So to
They might get a response from that.
It is clarified.
Yeah, well, it's probably
Sort of.
It may not even get one if it's right. I think the fact that you facilitate a full response, that says a lot with it, doesn't it? Because you can't do a full
It sort of speaks for itself.
100%
Sorry.
or
Chair.
A question about the response, if it is a delayed response, which could have been several working days, it will obviously go to the person who asked the question. But because the question has been raised in the public domain, would it appear on minutes or something? The answer to a question that's delayed for transparency.
I think previously we've mocked the question, and the chairman has agreed that a written response will be submitted.
To the person who asked the question, and to nobody else. even though they've all heard the question.
Two persons, that's how we've done it previously.
But you could append it, you could attach it as an appendix to the minutes.
Thank you. Can we put that in as well then, please?
So we have done in the past. I remember on certain things, I think it was one of your questions, sorry, one of the public's questions that we put in a written response attached to the minutes.
Thanks, Rose.
So I'll have to summarise. Can we just call everyone back in? Just, are we keeping the word preferred over helpful? Are we going helpful over preferred?
Well, helpful is the fact. Helpful is the fact, preferred isn't as an adjective.
So I'll
both think.
Members of the public may make representations, ask questions and give evidence at a meeting which they are entitled to attend in respect of business on the agenda. It is helpful that a member of the public make a request in writing to the town clerk prior to the meeting to facilitate a full response from the council to the questioner, full stop. And we had a written...
Members of the public must understand that questions asked at the meeting may get a written response. May get a response on the 9th.
Or a written response
Which
within...
But if this is not attached to the minutes appendix.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's all, that is all, sorry. That will be all questions. Just because it's put in beforehand, doesn't mean it's a response.
It simplifies that paragraph completely.
Councillor Jackson.
I'd get rid of preferred or helpful and all that, and just say, to facilitate this, statement of fact. To facilitate full response, this is what we need from you. Preferred or helpful, what does it matter if we prefer or it's helpful?
No, we might, sorry, Chair,
I mean,
might in fact be able to answer the question.
It's sometimes helpful in advance that allows you to do some research and prepare to give an answer to the person that's attending.
True, but I'm saying that if we just state to facilitate,
Can we not have
Because-
plain English, please?
and that's what I'm saying. If
Well,
people want,
facilitate's
if
fine,
people
but-
want
Yeah,
this,
let's
okay, well I'll put it in very plain
Helpful.
English. If you want an answer on the night, you've got to do it in advance.
There you go.
I'm just thinking that this seems to be really just about covering the possibility that someone on the night will ask a question and get angry because they haven't got an answer. And that's all that really seems to be about. And with what we've just had suggested seems to cover that, I think.
Yes.
I'm just happy with that.
Rose's amendment.
So we're voting on the amendment that we just read out and Rose added to.
You may get a response, oh no, a
Yeah,
written
the
response will be
deletion
attached
of
to the minutes.
3E2 as well.
Are we happy?
Yeah.
In favour?
See it in the minutes.
Agenda item 18, Finance Committee. Can I ask Council to ratify items A and B following an approved recommendations from the Council's Finance Committee from their meeting held on Monday the 30th of November 2023. Members are asked to note that these matters have been considered and approved by the members of the Council's Finance Committee and the committee chair. As requested that matters be brought to full council for ratification, I would like to propose that items A and B be ratified. A being the budgetary control statement of 31st of October 2023. B being the policy review for A, social media protocols for councillors. B, social media employees policy. C, use of social media press public. D, information protection policy. E, information security incident policy. F, removable media policy. G, passwords policy. H, data protection policy. I, record management and retention policy. And J, privacy policy. Do we have a second? Yeah.
I'd just like to thank the Finance Committee and the people, the officers who worked on it, because I've read them all. And as Hilary said about the standing orders, it makes it, or the code of conduct, it makes it much clearer. It's really helpful rewording. I can see nothing controversial in here, and propose that we accept them en masse and thank the committee for doing it.
Councillor Knight, Councillor Snell.
I just wanted to say it mentions Twitter in it. And I think we need to change it. But I'm not sure, I'm not entirely sure what
Check what it
the
is.
appropriate wording is. I just wanted to raise that. I know it's X now, but do you X someone?
It's formerly known as Twitter, I think, is the
X
normal.
formerly known as Twitter.
Platform, formerly known as Twitter.
What do you do?
But you still tweet.
Do you still tweet?
Yeah. You
You
can't
don't
X.
X someone. Oh, that's okay.
It's just
We proceed to a vote.
Yes.
Right, members, all those in favour of the motion?
Thank you for this.
And also to note item C, subject access request policy. I ask the councillors to note that the subject access request policy has been reviewed and the policy is not necessary as the council has asked to comply with the legislation by law, and as such the council has an approved internal procedure for dealing with such requests. Agenda item 19, next meeting for full council, scheduled for Monday the 29th of January at 6 o'clock here, Unit 2, Church House, Reigate.
And that will principally be the precept meeting, which is was appointed before the budget setting process for the next financial year.
Meeting closed. Thank you, members.